wrote something. I wrote something yesterday with respect to well, the title was okay. But the title of what I wrote yesterday on Facebook specifically geared that towards the Cybertruck explosion that happened in Las Vegas, and I mean, since the two attacks took place, one in New Orleans and one in Las Vegas, and those attacks were related to previous, those who served, those who served, who went on the forefront, who defended this country or put their life on the line, so to speak. Once I heard that those two terror attacks, or the two attacks, I don't want to call them terrorist attacks, because if that is the case, we would call that domestic terrorist attack. Let's be more honest now. Let's not say just terrorist attack, because if you technically look at those two individuals who carry on those attacks in Vegas and in New Orleans, they were both Americans. All right. So let's not get it confused now. They were both what? Americans that carry on those separate individual attacks. All right. So they were Americans. They were now foreign nationals coming into this country and blowing up the city or blowing up people. They were Americans. So let's get that clear now. I'm hearing CNN saying it's a terrorist attack. I'm hearing Fox News saying it's a terrorist attack. I'm hearing news saying that that's a terrorist attack. Well, we gotta understand what terrorist attacks means, and what do we label as terrorist attacks. All right. So when attacks is done by someone who is domestically or from a country or within a country, even if we try to label that to be mastermind or how'd you call it, instigated or manipulated, those individuals radicalized, so to speak, because that's the way people label that as a way to address that as a terrorist attack, by saying they were radicalized overseas or radicalized from wherever they were watching, or radicalized by some form of access to something. You know what I mean? Well, regardless of whether they were radicalized, they were Americans blowing up America. Let's get that clear now. So they were domestic terrorists blowing up their own spot, their own country. So if we want to say domestic, if we want to say terrorists, then let's say domestic terrorists. So the act that happened in Las Vegas in front of Trump Tower, we call that domestic terrorist. The one that happened in New Orleans, that is a domestic terrorist as well. Now, regardless of whether those two incidents were correlated, it is still considered as a domestic terrorist. So those individuals who blew up or who drove the truck into the crowd of people in New Orleans, it's domestic terrorists. The one that chose to just park his Cybertruck in front of Trump hotel and just sat there and blew himself up, and 70 other people got injured, that is still classified as domestic terrorist. We try to put labels, try to find all the pieces to attach to something to escalate or elevate that. You know what I mean? Technically speaking, that's domestic terrorist. You know what I mean? There is no way we can reverse and play it around that. That act that happened at the Trump Tower is domestic terrorist. The one that did happen in New Orleans, that's a domestic terrorist. Anything that was discovered within those trucks, whatever the explosive or not an explosive, those individuals were Americans. So we'll call that act of domestic terrorist. That's what it was. And I want to go in a little bit more into the individuals' domestic terrorist attacks, and elaborate a little bit more on what my perception are in terms of that. But again, before I even switch or say something else other than that. Those two separate attacks that is labeled as terrorist attacks, those attacks are domestic terrorist attack. I want to be clear on that. Those two attacks are labeled as domestic terrorist attack. Those individuals are Americans. Those individuals are born Americans. Let me say it one more time again. The one at the Trump Tower and the one in New Orleans. Those two individuals are born American citizens. They're not foreign born. They're not foreign citizens. They are born American citizens who committed a domestic terrorist on their own soil. Let's get that clear. Love you guys and God bless.